Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. It's time for part 2 of... There we go. Day 9 daily number 701, where we learn to be a better gamer. Thus far, we've seen MC try to do the same looking all-in 2 maps in a row, but the reasoning behind each of them, why it's strong or why it wouldn't work, it's quite different. So at this point, with the series tied 1-1, MMA has demonstrated his ability to set up some very nice defense for himself, but it's kind of one of those no guarantees type positions. If you're in MMA's shoes, you've almost died once, and you did die once. I would put MC as the one who does have a little bit of the advantage in this series, mentally at this point in time. And I think that if you are a ladder-only player, it can be. I mean, losing to an all-in is annoying, no matter what. But we tend to hear Terrans talk about Protosses in a very specific way at the absolute highest level, where they say that there's a few too many all-ins for the Protoss, and it makes it such a nightmare to prepare against and to play against Protoss. And again, for a ladder player, it's certainly annoying as hell when a Blink all-in or a Void Ray all-in or just a 7-gate naked all-in blasts down and kills you. That's certainly annoying. But then the next game, you kind of get a mental clean slate, and you get to start again. Or you can hold it off and be like, alright, good, yeah, nice. But one of the biggest struggles that will happen is in these best of X's, where now twice MMA has been reminded that MC can do these big all-in plays. And MMA now has to go and scout aggressively for it. He, must, because we might even say, yeah, this is a really good map to do it on, because we can contain with oracles, and then it's going to be very hard for him to build up enough defenses up here. So let's see how MC plays this out. Again, Gateway, double gas, cybernetics core, but does have 2 probes in each assimilator. That's about the right amount in the early game. Immediately tosses 1 into each of these gases when the SCV arrives. And this is something a little bit unique to MC. He is extremely regular about building this 3rd pylon before expanding. For as long as I have watched him play, he has consistently built this 3rd pylon pre-expo. And he gets up all the other juicy things. A lot of players even skip this Stalker. MC loves getting up this Stalker every time. And that doesn't make as much sense in a ladder setting. It really doesn't. If you're just playing non-stop PvTs on the ladder, your opponents are probably playing non-stop TVPs, and they're just going to be doing their build, and But here, MC, in a best of X, can go for a slightly later expansion with this first Stalker, and MMA still has to be concerned about something like a Stargate play coming up. So indeed we see MC going straight for the Stargate play again. Trying to lock out scouting as best he can. Every now and again there will in fact be the expansion there. And here comes one of those times. Just a little bit of a delayed expansion. But we see MMA, I mean, already look at this. Look at this base formation. MMA is doing something that is a little bit anti-Blink. It's not strongly anti-Blink, like rushing for a bunch of Marauders so we have the units ready. This opening discourages Blink play, because if you go for an expand into Blink, you don't have detection, so you can't see the mines. Also, MMA wants to apply a little pressure with the mines. He can, you know, defend against certain types of regions a little more easily. But at this point in time, MMA has to go, dude, what are you doing? Again with the no expand? And then he sees the expand and he's like, oh, alright, okay, nice. Perfect. This will 9 times out of 10 be a fast Oracle. So we see MMA just immediately re-rally everything and continue on with his life as planned. Everything at the back. And then we see another Oracle coming out. I think he just gets one. Yeah. MC, where did he get it? Ah, yes, here it is. The Twilight Council in just a beautiful spot. MC is now going to go for a Twilight Council. Now, I will say that pretty much any timing in the game will be good for one of 3 reasons. Because it's a fast timing. Wow, he got Blink up so quickly that I don't even have Stim. Second one is a mass timing. I'm going to go for 7 gates, and I'm going to keep warping in so many units that I overwhelm them. That would be an example of what we saw in the Ultim Stronghold game. And the third one is surprise. You just did not know that that was coming, and you were caught off guard. And the third one pretty much rarely ever happens. And to do it properly, against a good player, to do it properly, you have to sacrifice speed and mass. You will not get them up in as large of numbers. You will not get them up as quickly. MC right now has absolutely no idea what's going on in MMA's base. This is a build order designed to mess with a Terran player. MC is going to get a little bit of vision, but he had to have decided first to go for this Blink. So MC's still gotten almost no information, other than that there's an expansion here. And you have to be very sharp to spot those little mine rubbles in the ground. And one of the most... in one of, I think, the most beautifully executed plays, we see MC is going to rebuild the Oracle so that he can have detection. He's continuing to build probes, chrono boosting away on Blink. You don't really need to start gateways sooner than 100 seconds on the Twilight Council. Really, when Blink is halfway done-ish. And MMA even scans, he sees it all going down. And at this juncture in the game, it's very hard to expect a Blink play. There's Widow Mines down. What you expect as a Terran player is you expect a transition to Zealot legs at this point in time. I mean, you've seen 4 gateways. If you saw maybe 1 or 2, I think it would be reasonable to say, oh, he's probably also going for Colossus. But then all of a sudden MC moves forward with his usual incredibly good control. And we have MMA being forced to wall himself in. MMA does not have Stim yet. This is not a fast Blink attack. Normally other Blink attacks would be happening like over a minute earlier. This is at the 10-minute mark, and yet is just the perfect exploit to what MMA is doing. Because MMA has been so focused on the anti-Oracle. So at this point in time, I really think that the momentum could not be more in MC's favor. He's gone for a 7-gate Blink, just overwhelmed with so freaking many units. I mean, he's just rallying up at this point. MMA has lost to an all-in, and then almost lost to an all-in, and then lost to an all-in. And in every single case, there has been that Oracle opening up. Once it worked, once it didn't, and then again it did. Let's see, Game 4 on Yunsu. So this now led to their very strange and close game on Yunsu. I found it to be a pretty game. Quite a pretty little match. We gotta go through this one a little quickly. But fortunately, it has a very, very boring start, so not too much to say. But at this point in the game, MMA is on one of the worst maps to be up against a blink on. I mean, this ridge is very easy to blink up onto. You can send a sentry here and force field the ramp. You can time warp the ramp. Not much a Terran can do about it. Again, most Terrans feel like there is exactly one opening that they have, the Reaper Expo. And we see MC, again, doing these very uncharacteristic modern Protoss moves. The modern Protoss does not get this third pylon, he expands first. MC has not only not done that, he has also opened with a Zealot to try to apply pressure. Now, if I am in MMA's shoes, I'm going to be like, oh, thank God he doesn't have another geyser. Oh, yes. Is he expanding? Yes! And this fast Widowmine play from MMA, again, going to discourage fast blink quite a bit. It's not a fast tech up to a medevac. Indeed, MMA is valuing pretty highly, getting up a lot of Marines. MC is going for blink. Blink is a strong opening, as is. You get to control space very, very well. MMA has spotted everything. And there it is. It's the fast blink. And I mean, what are you really going to do in this position as MC? I mean, maybe you could send the Zealot in first at the front, but I like this play a lot. Just getting 3 gates, then beginning to get your other gas geysers at this expansion. Getting a forge up, there's the scan, and MMA sees the forge, and that's going to be like, oh, well, yeah, oh, of course, you're not doing anything scary. Same thing over in MMA's base. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit. And thus begins the opening of stuff just not really happening in large numbers. I think these gases are a little too late in this spot, but MC's allowed to do anything that he wants to do. MC's like a very mineral-focused player, as almost everyone else is super gas-focused. You know, like, how can I get these geysers at 545 and legitimately make it a strong play? Fast Zealot legs, MMA's taking his little mines and Marines and stuff, and getting his third command center because he feels safe and stuff. Not super safe, he's still teasing out around, trying to see everything that's going on. MC builds up till he has 24, and then he stops. And here's a position where what we are seeing the modern Terran player do is get a reactor right here, because it's a speed zealot play. Scans have shown a good amount of gateways. We haven't seen a big chunk of Colossus, or even... I mean, the fact that this robo's inactive is telling enough. So normally we see players flood the Widow Mines because of how ridiculously much damage they do to Zealots. And for some reason, MMA, and I do not know why, he does not do this. A couple things that MC does that I like quite a bit is he's going to keep this robo facility very active. MC is also a player who has his gateways very, 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 very active. Most of the time, players will build the gateways and not use them so they can warp in wherever they like, but MC just gets the big damn army. And getting the Immortals, another very cool little move. There we go. There's the Widow Mines coming up. Yeah, so this is a standard answer. I don't really know why MMA didn't do it earlier. I can't really foretell a reason. But he's going into a pretty standard play with these ghosts, conceptually speaking. But timing-wise, those ghosts are just so fast. This is a lot of gas that's going to start getting spent. As we can see, there's only this one engineering bay. There's no second engineering bay and armory being built. And there's only 4 geysers. These geysers are not up yet. And if he wants to make more medevacs, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to eat up a lot of gas very soon. And MC doesn't mind. Alright, look. Both players are just going to do not much. Doing not much. Staying defensive. A warp prism tries to do some stuff, and then it quits. So generally, the hyper-modern Terran player's answer to these big ol' zealots Templarness is to pack the Marines, the Marauders, and the Mines into one group and to begin to shove that one spot non-stop. And MMA is taking just what I would just call a surprisingly timid approach. Very cool moves by MC, but I mean, Zealots just get eaten so quickly by Mines. All these engagements should go in MMA's direction if a direct engagement ever begins. But MMA just keeps being a little too aggressive with his Mines. And MMA, who really should have gotten the opportunity to start attacking quite quickly in this game, is still only on 5 barracks. There's no additional ones over here. 8 barracks have to be done right now. A lot of attacking with these Mines have to be done right now. And the fact that they aren't is, as we're going to see in this game, it's gonna hurt MMA a lot. Now we have these Mines, and we keep seeing them at the front getting picked off. If just a few of those Widow Mines went off, MC would be in much, much worse shape. But instead, MMA's great. He even squishes a Zealot with the rocks. And MC just does something that, like, only MC would ever do, which is to have these gateways never stop warping units in. And to stay very, very active. 9 Protosses out of 10 are focused heavily on Stormers, Colossus for defense, and then doing counter warp-ins with warp prisms. But MC's going for a very sturdy force with this Immortal Zealot, like this non-stop Immortal Zealot, and goes for the very, very late Colossus. And not even in high numbers. So I personally think that big medevac drops... Oh, like, here's my general Terran vs. Protoss philosophy right now. If your opponent has a lot of Colossus on the field, and when I say a lot, it depends on what time in the game. We will qualitatively describe a lot as meaning his Colossus have to be in the fight in order for him to be able to win the fight. So for instance, if he has 30 Zealots, 6 High Templar, 2 Immortals, and 1 Colossus, he doesn't have a lot. But if we're early in the game and he has 2 Zealots, a Sentry, and 1 Colossus, then he has a lot at that time in game. Anytime there are a lot of Colossus, then drops become quite strong. But if there is a big focus on Zealots and High Templar, then drops play into the strength of the Protoss player, which is warping in all over the place. So I really feel like these are hurting MMA in a number of ways. He's not really able to find any openings. I don't think the drops will ever be horrifically bad, but I think that they will rarely ever be great. And if you're up against a player who's relying quite a lot on Colossus, then they actually can be quite great. But there comes a point in time when all this mid-game inquiry of, should you keep your army together? Should you split them apart? How should the medevacs work? All that gets replaced by the late-game armies. Everyone gets up their juice. MMA actually sneaks an expansion, which is hilarious to me. Because there seems really like nowhere to sneak an expansion. Yeah, and I know Polt is the Nexus sniper, and that's all nifty and stuff, but God, it's hard to do that sort of stuff. So finally we have oodles and oodles and oodles of barracks. The composition is starting to just be straight up Marine, Marauder, Ghost, Viking. I like MC's commitment to stay relatively small on expansions and to get up a lot of gateways. It's a very fun, aggressive attackers mix. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. I don't mind the idea of, you know, going for this big gateway force, because again, it is a very nice attacker's mix. But also, it functions beautifully for defense. Once you, either your attack doesn't work, or you need to sort of crank stuff down a touch. And I think that the very standard waiting game kind of comes into play. I think that warp prisms will struggle to be a mechanic that you use to go from a losing position easily to a winning position. As in, if I'm like down on bases and the Terran army is huge, I have to be very careful about doing big mass zealot warp-ins because I don't really have an army to speak of. Obviously, if it's like a 5-base versus 5-base situation, I, the Protoss, can spend lots of money doing big warp-ins. Small warp-ins or storm drops, those are going to be the big key for MC until he gets up a lot of additional bases. And I don't think that this game was anything other than pretty standard at this point. I think that the way that the Widow Mines were used is a little questionable. MMA certainly wound up playing quite passively. I think this angle for MMA is pretty great. Tried to find an opportunity to work his way in. Everything kind of got split up needlessly. But then, per usual, having all the gateways for the Zealot warp-ins. Very nice opportunity for defense. So it's kind of funky. I think at this point in time, the general perception is that MC was not just winning, but he was going to win. And there's one of these, it's almost like an optical illusion. It's easy to say, oh yeah, MC's force is very zealot heavy. Actually, I'm gonna rewind a little bit to the 22-minute mark. So MC is maxed out. No, you know, I don't want to come even earlier. Alright. Any time is fine, but I want to do it a little earlier in the game. So, often what happens when someone looks at a game and they're looking at compositions, they'll say something like, oh, MC has 3 Templar and a boatload of Zealots. He has like 30 Zealots. He has like an Archon, a couple Sentries, not that many Templar, but man, what a Zealot heavy mix. And that is the false, tricky analysis that can go on, where I have seen friends of mine, close friends, who are even in Masters League, say, I want to play like MC, so I'm going to have a mostly Zealot heavy force. And because when you watch these fights, you know what you see? The Zealots seem to be the key that keeps letting MC stay alive. This is an optical illusion. What's actually happening is that MC has been so good at managing his economy to get his mineral count up so high. And he has been so good at macroing non-stop as quickly as he can that he just happens to have a lot of Zealots at this early stage because he's a badass. He would love to have more Templar and more juicy units like Immortals and Archons, but he's broke on gas. He's even just got his expansion up. So when we come to this point in time, right after this battle occurs, it's speeding up to where we want. So at this point in time, again, it's very easy to look at this and go, man, there's that Zealot count, like 20 Zealots and just a few Colossus and 5 Templar in there. But this is because MC is trying to be fast. He's trying to attack a lot. And once we see MC... Oh, he also had to warp in a lot of Zealots during that engagement. So he is still quite Zealot heavy, and we're going to see this gas count that's very, very high begin to get very, 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 very low. See, there's 7 Templar that are morphed in down here. And the traditional, like, win play for a Protoss is stay defensive and counterattack. Stay defensive and do Zealot Warpins. Stay defensive and do proxy pylons with DTs and all that fun stuff. And there's also popular logic like, don't build Archons, they'll just get EMP'd out. But after a big engagement, there's generally not that many EMPs, and EMPs only do 100 damage. They're not going to reduce the Archon down to 0 health. This is, I think, one of the most impressive defenses that I have ever seen. MC, I think, even does a pretty damn good job of splitting his army up, having the Zealots go and take out this planetary right away. Marines swarming in. I mean, there's really no other way to say this than damn, that's really, really impressive and good. Vikings positioned right over where it's going to be hard for them to do much else. Then shoot at the Colossus. I really feel like if MC had knocked this down and attacked here, he would have instantly won this game. He's still breaking in. That gas count, again, where are the damn Archons? There we go. The gas MC is throwing into Templar and then trying to go attack super quickly because Archons are amazing until they get all EMP'd to death. So if you know your opponent is low on Ghost Energy, you can just go Zealot Archon and flood the front, never even wait for Storm, and be in good shape. But I think just a big misplay for MC to go up here instead of over here, because this is really the only mining expansion. And similarly, MC's only really mining expansion is over here. So MC just decides, finally now, to go for it. Wasn't that easy? This space is also a lot easier for defending those once upon a time dead Colossus. Your pretty typical, pretty traditional game, but then all of a sudden, after that trade, I think it's just the really cool, exciting bits where MMA's micro can really come into play. And I would almost say he like accidentally gets to kill this Nexus, which is really nice. And in a seemingly impossible situation, MMA is able to pick up a really nice win. And again, I will come back to this moment in gameplay where it had been a pretty dry game up to this point in time. MC was trying to work his way down on this expansion. I don't mind a play to push up here. I do love how MC was packing all his stuff together and doing these big aggressive shoves. But I mean, like, Zealot, 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 walk up here to destroy. MC does not have to attack anything right now. I mean, this is actually almost out of minerals. I think it was this engagement where MC went from being a player who was ahead to a player that was dead. Attacking the valuable expansions is like so freaking important. This attack just really does not have to happen. And this is one of these moments where I want to also explain what's not quite fair about my analysis. Here's what's not quite fair. In this attack, MC almost does it. Right? What makes a good player good? When he can look at a battle and judge that he can win or lose. And, I mean, it's hard to argue that MC lost this battle, even right now. So that's what's slightly unfair, because he barely lost. But still, the important thing is that you don't have to take those fights. You and many great players will be convinced you can take a fight, and you will be almost correct, and it won't pan out well. And sometimes you'll be barely correct, and it will turn out well. But still, this expansion right here, I think, should have been the big target for MC. And the series was amazingly, after that, tied up 2-2. So, I'm going to go for a brief break, because that was a lot longer than I had intended. Yes, it was. Oh, good. The Frost game is very easy to analyze. Cool. When we come back, we'll go through that, go through Game 6, and then donezo.